you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. I'm in Indiana.
I was wondering where you were. Are you going to be going out soon to Washington?
Well, it kind of sounds like it. I know that we're going to go for an impeachment for the fifth time, I guess, this week.
So it looks like, is Tuesday when you might be called back?
Tuesday or Wednesday. There's some technical things that have to be accomplished. I know that folks are calling for my brother to invoke the 25th Amendment. If he doesn't do it by sometime today, what's called the Rules Committee will meet either later today or tomorrow and then determine what the schedule will be. So I'm guessing it's going to be more like Wednesday or Thursday. I think we'll all find out pretty quick at the end of today.
So talk a little bit about last week.
Yeah. Well, I can kind of tell you about a little bit. For me personally, I had gone, I had met my brother at the Capitol building. It was going to be a pretty tough day for him if you think about it. He was presiding over a joint session of the House. We knew that the outcome in terms of whether or not all of the Electoral College votes would be ratified was going to happen. And on that day, he would actually preside over something that would acknowledge that he was not going to be vice president. And we knew that was going to happen. Met him in his office in the Senate. He showed me his statement that said he didn't have the constitutional authority. You know, Kathy, it's a lot like people should look at it this way. As the presiding officer of a joint session, he's kind of like the judge in a trial where he's not in a position to argue for the defense or the plaintiff. He simply manages the process. So he read that statement, said constitutionally he didn't have the authority, and we went down and watched him gavel in the Senate. The vice president is the president of the Senate, and then we heard opening statements from McConnell, Schumer, and then Ted Cruz was giving his 5-minute speech on challenging the Arizona Electoral College. He was doing this in the Senate. And then all of a sudden, the Secret Service came over and grabbed, I was with the second lady and their daughter, Charlotte, and they grabbed us and they said, you have to go, there's a security breach. We went back, we went right over to his office, which was just across the hall. And then about 10 minutes later, they brought my brother up, and then they ran us. About 10 minutes after that, they said, we have to go. We have to get you out of here, Mr. Vice President. And I will tell you that the Vice President of the United States said, I'm not leaving. This is my post. I'm standing it, and we're staying. And I completely agreed with that. But then after a while, they said they're burning some rooms below us. We have to go. So we went to a secure location, but we stayed in the Capitol building the entire time until we gavelled back in around 8:30 that night. And that was the timeline I'm talking about now is about 2:30 in the afternoon. So we were, I'll call it the basement of the Capitol building. I cannot say exactly where. I'm not allowed to, but and it wasn't a room. It was a very large area where the Secret Service was with him. And the whole time, my brother spent his time talking to Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, and Kevin McCarthy, other leaders, saying, we need to get back. We need to finish this business. It's our duty to do this today. And he really led that charge. And as you know, then into the wee hours of the night, we finished voting on the certified electoral college. And he, at the end of the evening, about 4 o'clock in the morning, declared that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were the president and vice president-elect.
Yeah, you talk about being with your brother prior to all this happening. Is that the most time you've had to spend with him during this time in Congress?
Oh no, I actually, we're a pretty close family, and I actually got to see him for many other things over these 2 years that I've been in D.C. And of course, when he first got elected, spent a lot of time with him. Actually, when he comes to Indiana, we always see him. He loves Indiana.
Well, I didn't know how much your schedule's crossed out in Washington with everything going on.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually get asked that a lot, Kathy. He was very, very busy. I've often told people, you can't believe how hard they work. He'd get a 7:30 security briefing in the morning, and then usually go to about 9:30 at night. So it was not during the week. Very seldom did I go over and see him at his office, because he was, he lived in about 10-minute increments, constantly meeting and doing different things.
So all eyes are on him today and see what he's going to do. Is that right?
I think so. We'll see. My sense is probably won't do the 25th amendment, but I literally have no inside information on that. I haven't talked to him since Thursday.
Mm-hmm. And here being back in Indiana, watching all this unfold on TV, it just seemed unreal.
Well, if you had asked me, would people be able to break into the United States Capitol and do what they did? Because I will tell you, the pictures that people see on TV are after things have been closed up. When we went back upstairs, as it were, I went back to his office, and then I went over to attend the House of Representatives hearings, which is kind of the whole length of the building, and a great deal of damage had been done throughout the building. I never would have believed anything could have happened. I support the men and women of the Capitol Hill Police that had to stand there and did stand their post. But it's a real shame that there was some breakdown in how that support was managed. I talked to Steve Scalise about 2:30 in the morning and said there has to be an investigation, and I'm glad to report that there is an ongoing. They began an investigation this weekend as to how not a lot of people. There were tens of thousands of peaceful protesters that just wanted to be there for whatever reason. There's people from here in our district. There's my hometown, and all over Indiana went out there, and they've reported to me that they can't believe what a couple hundred people did to steal their rally from them, and it was an abhorrent thing. And the interesting, I bet they find all those people in this day and age. The way they can track phones and things like that, it was not a smart thing for those people to do. And if they had malice on their mind or in their heart, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable in the United States, and it's unacceptable to what they did to my party, the Republican Party, because now they're tearing it apart, and the other side, if you will, is taking advantage of a handful of bad actors.
Did you feel like, Congressman Pence, was there any indication, or did you feel that it would turn into what it did to get so big and so ugly as quickly as it did?
No. I'm kind of like all the listeners. I had no idea that such a thing would happen. There's always protesters in D.C. Mm-hmm. That's pretty common, and they're contained in there's areas that you actually get a permit on the Capitol grounds to do protests, and that's where they started in the morning. And for for what happened. No one imagined that they would break into the building. No one imagined that you could break into the building. That's part of my shock is that you could actually bust through doors and windows into the Capitol building. It hasn't happened since the early 1800s. It's amazing.
It's just unbelievable. It absolutely is. I can't imagine the emotion that you all felt as it began to unfold. I mean, it's one thing, like you said, you have protesters and such at different times, but for it to just unfold and turn so bitter and ugly so fast, and I would have, honestly, I'd have been terrified to have been there.
Well, I won't say I was terrified per se. I was glad that I was, as Secret Service was running us through the building for the protection of my brother. I was very glad that I was with my brother at that time to be with him, to support him, and that's why I actually started that day with him. Having been in the service, you're kind of trained, and in my life, I've experienced situations like that. But experience that in the United States on the U.S. Capitol? No.
I know.
Hard to believe.
It is. It really is.
Since last we talked, also, you were sworn in.
We were. That's right. Very honored to be out there representing. We're going to stay in the minority this time. We're going to have to keep working to do what we can for the people of the Indiana 6th District, and I'm honored to be sworn in. And it wasn't quite the ceremony or the event because of COVID out there, but I'll go back out like I have every time in 2020, COVID or no COVID. I'll be going out there representing the people of the Indiana 6th District.
All right. Best way to keep in touch is one of the ways is your website.
Yes, pence.house.gov. Give us a holler, and we'll help you with whatever needs you have.
So now you also have offices throughout the district.
We do. We have Columbus, we have Muncie, we have Richmond, and Greenfield offices. And if you go to our website, you can find out where those are, and you can get the phone numbers to set up appointments if you need to.
All right. Anything else right now?
No, thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
Thank you. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.